The grand ballroom sparkled like 1,000 diamonds under the crystal chandeliers. Men in expensive suits and women in beautiful gowns filled the room. Everyone was waiting for the host of the biggest business event of the year to appear on stage. My husband, Darnell, stood near the bar, laughing loudly with a group of important-looking men. His tailored suit fit him perfectly. He looked so confident, so proud of himself. He had no idea what was about to happen. A young woman in a red dress clung to his arm. She smiled at everything he said like he was the most amazing person in the world. My heart squeezed tight in my chest, but I kept my face calm. "Darnell, who is that woman by the door?" one of the men asked, pointing at me. I stood quietly near the entrance, wearing a simple black dress and flat shoes. My hair was pulled back in a plain ponytail. I looked nothing like the glamorous women in the room. Darnell turned around. When he saw me, his eyes went wide for just 1 second. Then he laughed nervously. "Oh, that's just Nina," he said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "She's my maid. I have no idea why she's here. She probably got confused about where she was supposed to be." The men around him chuckled. The woman in the red dress giggled and whispered something in his ear. My face burned with embarrassment, but I did not move. I did not say a word. "Excuse me," Darnell said to his friends. He walked over to me with angry steps. His smile disappeared as soon as no one could see his face. "What are you doing here, Nina?" he hissed through his teeth. "I told you to stay home. This is an important night for me. Do you want to ruin everything?" "I have every right to be here," I said softly. "No, you don't," he snapped. "Go home, now, before you embarrass me more than you already have." Just then, the lights in the ballroom dimmed. A spotlight hit the stage. The crowd grew quiet. A voice boomed through the speakers. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the founder and host of tonight's event, the woman who built this company from nothing into a billion-dollar empire, the one who made tonight possible. Please give a warm welcome to our host." Darnell smiled at me with cruel satisfaction. "See? The real important people are about to speak. You should leave before security throws you out." But something strange happened. The spotlight moved. It traveled across the room, past the bar, past the beautiful women, past the rich men in their fancy suits. The spotlight stopped right on me. The voice continued. "Please welcome the incredible, the inspiring, the one and only, Nina Richardson." The room erupted in applause. People turned to look at me with wide eyes and open mouths. The woman in the red dress dropped her champagne glass, and it shattered on the floor. But nobody was more shocked than my husband. Darnell's face went pale. His mouth hung open like a fish out of water. He stumbled backward as if someone had pushed him. What is happening?" he stammered. I straightened my shoulders and smiled. For the first time in 3 years, I felt free. How did I get here? How did I become a billionaire without my own husband knowing? And who was that woman on his arm? Well, let me take you back to where it all began. But first, I want to know, where are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments below. And if you want to find out what happens next, make sure you like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to this channel. Trust me, you do not want to miss what comes next. Now, let me tell you my story from the very beginning. 3 years ago, I was a happy woman. At least, I thought I was happy. I had been married to Darnell Williams for 5 years. We met in college, back when he had nothing but big dreams and an even bigger smile. I remember the first time I saw him. He was sitting alone in the library, studying for an exam. His shirt had a small hole near the collar, and his shoes were worn out. But when he looked up and smiled at me, I felt like the whole room lit up. "Hi," he said. "I'm Darnell. Do you mind if I borrow your notes? I missed class yesterday because I was working." I learned that Darnell worked 3 jobs to pay for school. His parents had passed away when he was young, and he had nobody to help him. Everything he had, he earned on his own. I admired him so much. Here was a man who was fighting for his future. A man who worked hard and never complained. A man who looked at me like I was the only girl in the world. We fell in love quickly. We got married right after graduation, in a tiny ceremony with only 10 guests. We had no money for a big wedding, but I didn't care. I had Darnell, and that was enough. One day, he promised me on our wedding night, "I'm going to give you everything. A big house, nice cars, beautiful clothes. You'll never have to worry about money again." I believed him. I believed every word. What Darnell didn't know was that I came from money. My grandmother, Josephine Richardson, was one of the richest women in the state. She had built a clothing company from scratch and turned it into a fashion empire worth billions. But my grandmother was a wise woman. She taught me that money means nothing if you don't have good character. She taught me that a person's true self comes out when they think nobody important is watching. Never tell a man about your wealth until you know his heart. She told me before she passed away. Money makes people act different. You need to find someone who loves you for you, not for what you have. So I kept my inheritance a secret. I wanted Darnell to love the real me, not my grandmother's money. I dressed simply. I lived simply. I never talked about my family's wealth. For the first few years, everything was wonderful. Darnell started a small business selling office supplies. I helped him with the paperwork and the accounting. We worked together as a team. But then, his business started to grow. He began making good money, and slowly, the man I married started to disappear. It started with small things. He stopped saying thank you when I made dinner. He stopped asking about my day. He started coming home late without calling first. "I'm a businessman now," he would say, when I complained. "I have important things to do. You wouldn't understand." Then came the comments about how I looked. "Why don't you wear makeup like other wives?" he asked one day. "You look so plain. It's embarrassing. Why do you always dress like that? My business partners have beautiful wives. You look like a maid." A maid. He actually called me a maid. I tried to talk to him about it. I tried to explain that I was the same woman he married, but he waved me away like I was bothering him. "I've changed, Nina. I've grown. Maybe you should try to keep up." The truth was, his success was changing him, and not for the better. One night, I came home early from grocery shopping. I heard voices in the living room. I walked in to find Darnell sitting very close to a young woman I had never seen before. They were laughing and drinking wine. "Darnell?" I said, my heart pounding. "Who is this?" He jumped up like he had been caught doing something wrong, which he had. "This is Tasha," he said quickly. "She's just a colleague. We were discussing business." Tasha smiled at me with cold eyes. She looked me up and down like I was something dirty on the bottom of her expensive shoes. "Oh, is this your maid?" she asked Darnell sweetly. "How nice of you to give her the night off to go shopping." Darnell laughed nervously. He didn't correct her. He didn't tell her I was his wife. He just laughed. That was the night my heart started to break. Over the next few months, I watched my marriage fall apart. Darnell stayed out late almost every night. He stopped wearing his wedding ring. He talked on the phone in whispers and hung up when I walked in the room. I knew he was seeing Tasha. Everyone knew. But every time I tried to talk about it, he made me feel crazy. "You're imagining things," he would say. "You're just jealous because you can't be like her. You can't be beautiful and successful like her." The worst part was that I started to believe him. I started to think maybe I wasn't good enough. Maybe I was just a plain, boring woman who didn't deserve a successful husband. But then, something happened that changed everything. I received a letter from my grandmother's lawyer. It had been 5 years since her passing, and according to her will, her entire fortune was now fully in my control. The lawyers had been managing it, growing it, investing it. And now, it was time for me to take over. I stared at that letter for a long time. I thought about everything Darnell had put me through. The insults, the cheating, the way he made me feel small and worthless. My grandmother's voice echoed in my head. Money means nothing if you don't have good character. Darnell had shown me his true character, and it was ugly. I made a decision that night. I wasn't going to tell Darnell about my inheritance. Instead, I was going to use it to rebuild myself. I was going to become the woman I was always meant to be. But I wasn't going to do it for revenge. No, revenge is bitter and empty. I was going to do it because I deserved better, because my grandmother believed in me, because somewhere inside me was a strong, capable woman who had been hiding for too long. I started quietly. I took online business classes late at night while Darnell slept. I studied everything my grandmother had built. I learned about fashion, about marketing, about running a company. The lawyers introduced me to my grandmother's old business partners. They remembered me from when I was a little girl. They were happy to help me learn. "Your grandmother would be so proud," said Mr. Coleman, who had worked with her for 30 years. "You have her spirit. You have her fire." For the first time in years, I felt hope. But I had to be careful. Darnell couldn't know what I was doing. If he found out about my money, everything would change. He would suddenly become the loving husband again. He would pretend like nothing had happened. And I needed to see his true face. I needed to know exactly who I was married to. So I played my part. I continued to dress simply. I continued to stay home while he went out with Tasha. I continued to let him call me names and treat me like nothing. It was hard. Some nights, I cried myself to sleep. Some mornings, I looked in the mirror and wondered if I was making a mistake. But I kept going. I had a plan, and I was going to see it through. Months passed. My company grew. I worked hard every single day, and slowly, I transformed my grandmother's old empire into something new and modern. Young people loved our clothes. Famous people started wearing our brand. The business was worth more than ever before. And through it all, Darnell had no idea. He was too busy with his own little business, too busy with Tasha, too busy looking down on me to notice that his plain Maid wife was becoming one of the most successful women in the country. The best part? I did it all without his help. I did it all on my own. Then came the announcement that would change everything. The annual Business Leaders Gala was looking for a host. This was the biggest event of the year, where all the most important business people came together. When they asked me to host it, I almost said no. It was too risky. Darnell would find out everything. But then I thought about it more. What better way to show the world who I really was? What better way to finally stand in my truth? I said yes. The night of the gala arrived. I told Darnell I wasn't feeling well and would stay home. He barely looked at me as he walked out the door in his fancy suit, Tasha hanging on his arm like she belonged there. "Don't wait up," he said coldly. "I'll be home late." I smiled to myself. "Have a good time, Darnell." He had no idea what was waiting for him. I got ready slowly. I put on a simple black dress and flat shoes. I pulled my hair back in a plain ponytail. I wanted to see what Darnell would do when he saw me there. Would he acknowledge me as his wife? Would he finally show me some respect? The answer, as you know, was no. He introduced me as his maid, in front of everyone. And now, as I stood in that spotlight with the whole room watching, I knew that everything was about to change. The applause continued. People were cheering for me. Cameras were flashing. But all I could see was Darnell's face, white as a ghost, frozen in shock. "Nina," he whispered. "What? How?" I didn't answer. I simply walked toward the stage, my head held high. With each step, I felt stronger. With each step, I left the old Nina behind. As I reached the stairs to the stage, I felt a hand grab my arm. I turned to see Darnell, his eyes wild with confusion and fear. "Wait," he said desperately. "I don't understand. What is happening? Is this some kind of joke?" I looked at his hand on my arm. The same hand that used to hold mine with love. The same hand that now felt like a stranger's touch. "No, Darnell," I said quietly so only he could hear. "This is not a joke. This is the truth you never bothered to see." I pulled my arm away and climbed the stairs. When I reached the microphone, I looked out at the crowd. Hundreds of faces stared back at me. Some were smiling, some were curious, and one face, Darnell's face, looked absolutely terrified. Good, I thought. Now he knows how I felt all those years. I opened my mouth to speak when suddenly, the ballroom doors burst open with a loud bang. A woman rushed in, her hair messy, and her eyes wild. She was shouting something, pushing past the security guards who tried to stop her. "Stop the event," she screamed. "Stop everything. That woman on stage is a fraud. I have proof." The room gasped. Everyone turned to look at the woman. My blood ran cold, because I recognized her. I recognized her face, her voice, everything about her. It was someone from my past, someone I thought I would never see again, someone who knew secrets I had buried long ago. And she was heading straight for the stage, holding papers in her hand like weapons. What did those papers say? What secrets were about to come out? I gripped the podium tight. Whatever happened next, there was no going back now. My hands trembled as I watched the woman push through the crowd. Her name was Vanessa Cole, and seeing her face brought back memories I had tried so hard to forget. Vanessa had been my grandmother's personal assistant for 15 years. She knew everything about our family, every secret, every business deal, every private moment. When my grandmother passed away, Vanessa left suddenly without saying goodbye. Nobody knew where she went. Until now. Security guards grabbed her arms, but she kept screaming, "Let me go. Everyone needs to know the truth about Nina Richardson. She's been lying to all of you." The crowd murmured nervously. People whispered to each other. Cameras pointed at Vanessa, then at me, then back at Vanessa. I could see Darnell in the crowd. His confused expression had changed to something else. Hope. He looked hopeful, like maybe this woman was going to save him from embarrassment. That made me angry. Even now, he was looking for a way to make me look bad. I leaned into the microphone. My voice came out stronger than I expected. "Please," I said calmly. "Let the woman speak. If she has something to say, let her say it." The room went silent. The security guards looked at each other, unsure what to do. Finally, they let Vanessa go. She straightened her rumpled jacket and marched toward the stage. Her heels clicked loudly on the marble floor. Each step echoed through the quiet ballroom. When she reached the bottom of the stairs, she held up her papers like a trophy. "These documents prove that Nina Richardson is not who she says she is," Vanessa announced loudly. "She didn't build this company. She didn't earn her fortune. She stole everything from Josephine Richardson, her own grandmother." Gasps filled the room. I heard someone drop a glass. The sound of it shattering seemed to go on forever. "That's a lie," I said firmly, but my heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Vanessa smiled cruelly. "Is it? Then explain these papers. They show that you changed your grandmother's will. You manipulated a dying old woman to give you everything. The real heir was supposed to be someone else entirely." More gasps, more whispers. I saw people shaking their heads. Some looked at me with disgust in their eyes. "This is ridiculous," I said. "My grandmother loved me. She chose me to carry on her legacy." "Fake?" Vanessa laughed bitterly. "I worked for your grandmother for 15 years. I know what she wanted, and she never wanted you to have everything. She wanted it shared with the family. But you, greedy little Nina, you convinced her to change everything at the last minute, when she was sick and confused." I felt dizzy. The lights were too bright. The room was too hot. Everything was spinning. This wasn't true. It couldn't be true. My grandmother had made her wishes clear. The lawyers had confirmed everything. There was nothing wrong with my inheritance. But looking at the faces in the crowd, I could see doubt creeping in. They didn't know me. They only knew what Vanessa was telling them. I have witnesses, Vanessa continued. I have proof. By this time tomorrow, everyone will know that Nina Richardson is nothing but a thief and a liar. She threw the papers into the air. They scattered like angry birds, floating down over the crowd. People grabbed at them, reading the words printed there. I stood frozen on stage. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say. Then I saw Darnell moving through the crowd. He picked up one of the papers and read it quickly. A slow smile spread across his face, the same smile he used to give me when we were young and in love. But now, it looked evil. He was enjoying this. Well, 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 he said loudly. It seems my wife has been keeping secrets. Big secrets. The word wife hit me like a punch. An hour ago, he was calling me his maid. Now suddenly I was his wife again? You should be quiet, Darnell, I said through the microphone. You have no idea what you're talking about. Oh, I think I do. He replied smugly. I think I finally understand everything. You've been hiding money from me our entire marriage. That's fraud. That's theft. As your husband, I have rights to your assets. Some people in the crowd nodded. Others looked uncomfortable. The woman in the red dress, Tasha, was grinning ear to ear. This is not the time or place for this discussion, I said, trying to stay calm. We can talk about this privately. No, Darnell said firmly. I think the whole world should know what kind of woman you really are. You let me struggle for years while you had billions hidden away. You watched me work myself nearly to death while you sat at home pretending to be poor. What kind of wife does that? The irony was too much. This man who had cheated on me, insulted me, and treated me like dirt, was now playing the victim. Darnell, please, I said softly. Don't do this. Don't do what? Tell the truth? He laughed coldly. You should have thought about that before you made a fool of me. Introducing yourself as some big, important business owner when I've been supporting you all these years. Supporting me? I couldn't help but laugh. You haven't supported me in years. You've been too busy with your girlfriend to even notice I exist. I pointed at Tasha, who stopped smiling immediately. Oh yes, I continued. I know all about her. I know about the late nights, the secret phone calls, the expensive gifts you bought her with money from your little business. Did you think I was stupid? The crowd turned to look at Tasha. Her face went red. She tried to hide behind someone, but all eyes were on her. Darnell's confident smile faltered. That's different. You're trying to change the subject. Am I? Or am I just showing everyone who you really are? For a moment, nobody spoke. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. Then Vanessa climbed onto the stage. She stood next to me, still holding some papers. This is all very entertaining, she said sarcastically. But we're getting away from the real issue. Nina Richardson is a fraud, and I can prove it. She shoved a paper in my face. Read this, out loud, let everyone hear. I looked at the document. My eyes scanned the words. And slowly, my fear started to fade. Because I recognized this paper, I knew exactly what it was, and it proved nothing that Vanessa claimed. You want me to read this? I asked calmly. Yes, let everyone hear the truth. I smiled. For the first time since Vanessa burst through those doors, I smiled. Okay, I said. I'll read it. I cleared my throat and spoke into the microphone. This document is a letter from Josephine Richardson, dated 2 years before her death. It says, and I quote, "To my beloved granddaughter Nina, I leave my entire estate and business holdings. She has shown me what true character looks like. While others wanted my money, Nina only wanted my love. She is the only one worthy to carry on my legacy." I looked up at Vanessa. Her face had gone pale. Would you like me to continue? I asked sweetly. Because there's more. Vanessa snatched the paper back. She stared at it with wide eyes. No, this isn't the right one, I had different papers. Someone must have switched them. Or maybe, I said calmly, you grabbed the wrong documents in your rush to destroy me. Maybe in your eagerness to cause trouble, you actually brought proof of my grandmother's true wishes. The crowd started murmuring again. But this time, the whispers were different. People were looking at Vanessa with suspicion instead of me. She's lying, Vanessa screamed. She's twisting everything. I know what I saw. I know what that old woman really wanted. That old woman was my grandmother, I said firmly, and she was brilliant until her last breath. She knew exactly what she was doing when she wrote her will. She knew that people like you would try to challenge it. I pulled out my phone and pressed a button. The large screens around the ballroom flickered to life. That's why she left video evidence, I said. On every screen, my grandmother's face appeared. She looked thin and tired, but her eyes were sharp and clear. She was sitting in her favorite chair, the one by the window with the yellow flowers. I am Josephine Richardson, she said on the video. And I am making this recording because I know my wishes will be questioned after I'm gone. So let me be perfectly clear. The room was completely silent. Everyone stared at the screens. My entire fortune goes to my granddaughter, Nina, not because she asked for it. She never asked for anything, but because she showed me kindness when everyone else wanted something from me. She visited me every week, not for money, but for love. She listened to my stories. She held my hand when I was scared. She made me feel like I mattered. Tears formed in my eyes. Hearing my grandmother's voice after all these years was like a knife in my heart. To anyone who challenges this will, my grandmother continued, I have one thing to say. I knew exactly what I was doing. I was not confused. I was not manipulated. I simply chose the person who deserved my legacy. And that person is Nina. The video ended. The screens went dark. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Then, slowly, someone started clapping. Then another person. Then another. Soon, the entire ballroom erupted in applause. Vanessa stood next to me, shaking with anger. This doesn't prove anything. That video could be fake. It's not fake, a deep voice said from the back of the room. I can confirm it's authentic. Everyone turned to see an older man in a dark blue suit walking toward the stage. I recognized him immediately. It was Judge William Patterson, one of the most respected judges in the state. He had known my grandmother for decades. I was present when that video was recorded. Judge Patterson said, Josephine Richardson was in full control of her mind. She knew exactly what she wanted, and she wanted Nina to have everything. Vanessa's face crumbled. She looked around desperately, like a trapped animal looking for escape. But the documents I had, someone must have. The documents you had were probably forged, Judge Patterson said sternly. And if I find out who helped you create them, there will be serious consequences. Vanessa started backing away. I didn't. This wasn't supposed to. She turned and ran. She pushed through the crowd and disappeared through the same doors she had burst through minutes ago. Nobody tried to stop her. Everyone was too shocked by what had just happened. I stood on that stage, my heart still racing. I had been so scared. For a moment, I thought everything I had worked for was going to crumble. But the truth had won. My grandmother's love had protected me even from beyond the grave. I looked down at Darnell. His hopeful smile was gone. Now he just looked lost and confused. The woman he had called his maid had just been proven to be a billionaire with nothing to hide. And he had just accused her of fraud in front of hundreds of witnesses. I think, I said into the microphone, we should take a short break. Everyone please enjoy the refreshments. The program will continue in 30 minutes. I walked off the stage with my head held high. People parted to let me pass. Some reached out to touch my hand. Others whispered, congratulations. But I wasn't interested in any of that. I had one destination in mind. I walked straight up to Darnell. He tried to smile. He tried to look charming. But I could see the fear behind his eyes. "Nina, baby, listen," he started. "I didn't mean what I said. I was confused. I didn't know what was happening. Can we please just talk about this?" "Oh, now you want to talk?" I asked. "Funny. You didn't want to talk when you were calling me your maid. You didn't want to talk when you were accusing me of being a fraud. I was wrong. I admit it. I was completely wrong. But you have to understand, I was shocked. Finding out my wife is a billionaire, that's a lot to process. And finding out my husband has been cheating on me for years, that wasn't a lot to process." His face went pale. "Nina, Tasha means nothing to me. She was just a distraction. You're my wife. You're the one I love." "Love?" I laughed bitterly. "You don't know what love is, Darnell. You never did." I started to walk away, but he grabbed my arm. "Wait," he said desperately. "We can work this out. Think about what we built together. Think about our marriage." "Our marriage ended a long time ago," I said coldly. "You just didn't notice because you were too busy looking at other women." I pulled my arm free and walked away. I could hear him calling after me, but I didn't look back. The next hour passed in a blur. I mingled with guests. I accepted congratulations. I smiled and nodded and pretended everything was fine. But inside, I was a hurricane of emotions. Relief that Vanessa's accusations had failed, anger at Darnell's betrayal, sadness for the marriage I had lost. And underneath it all, a tiny spark of hope for the future. Finally, it was time for my speech. I walked back onto the stage and looked out at the crowd. "Tonight has been unexpected," I began. The audience laughed nervously, but I believe that unexpected moments show us who we really are. They strip away the masks we wear and reveal the truth underneath. I paused to collect my thoughts. My grandmother taught me that character is more important than wealth. She taught me that kindness matters more than success. And she taught me that the people who truly love you will love you whether you have nothing or everything. I looked at Darnell. He was standing near the back, his arm around Tasha again. Even now, after everything, he couldn't stay away from her. "I kept my inheritance a secret for years," I continued. "Not because I was ashamed of it, but because I wanted to know who would love me for me. I wanted to see who would stand beside me when they thought I had nothing to offer." The room was silent. Everyone listened carefully to my words. What I learned was painful, but it was necessary, because now I know the truth, and the truth, no matter how much it hurts, is always better than a beautiful lie. The applause that followed was thunderous. People stood up from their seats. They cheered and clapped like I had just won some kind of award. But the only award I wanted was my freedom. Freedom from a man who never truly loved me. Freedom from a life of pretending to be less than I was. After the speech, I retreated to a quiet hallway behind the ballroom. I needed a moment alone to process everything. I leaned against the wall and closed my eyes. My heart was still racing. My mind was still spinning. But underneath all the chaos, I felt something new. Peace. For the first time in years, I felt at peace. Well, that was quite a show. My eyes flew open. A man stood a few feet away, watching me with curious eyes. He was tall and handsome, with kind eyes and a gentle smile. "I'm sorry," he said. "I didn't mean to startle you. I just wanted to say that was the most incredible thing I've ever seen." "Thank you," I said carefully. "Who are you?" "My name is Jerome Washington," he said. "I'm a friend of Judge Patterson. He invited me tonight." "Jerome Washington," I repeated. The name sounded familiar. "Wait, are you the Jerome Washington, the one who runs the Children's Foundation?" He smiled modestly. "That's me. Though I don't like to brag about it. I had heard so much about this man. His foundation had helped thousands of children from poor families get education and opportunities. He was known for his generosity and kindness. "I've wanted to meet you for years," I said honestly. Your work is amazing. And I've wanted to meet you, he replied. Your grandmother was a huge supporter of our foundation. She believed in giving back to the community. When I heard her granddaughter was carrying on that legacy, I had to come see for myself. We talked for a few minutes. He was easy to talk to, with a warm laugh and intelligent conversation. For a brief moment, I forgot about all the drama of the evening. I should let you get back to your guests, Jerome finally said. But I hope we can talk again soon. Maybe discuss some ways our organizations could work together. I would like that, I said, and I meant it. He gave me his card and walked away. I watched him go, feeling something flutter in my chest. Stop it, I told myself. You're still married. Your life is a mess. The last thing you need is another complication. But as I tucked his card into my pocket, I couldn't help but smile. I returned to the ballroom just in time to see something that wiped the smile right off my face. Darnell was standing near the stage, surrounded by reporters. Cameras flashed, microphones pointed at his face, and he was talking. Yes, it's true, he was saying. My wife hid her fortune from me. For years, she let me believe we were a regular middle-class family. Can you imagine the betrayal I feel? My blood boiled. He was playing the victim again, making himself look good while making me look bad. Darnell, I called out sharply. He turned and saw me. For a second, he looked scared. Then he put on his charming smile. Nina, darling, come join us. These nice reporters want to hear our story. Our story? I repeated, walking toward him. You want to tell them our story? How about the part where you called me your maid in front of everyone? How about the part where you've been cheating on me for years? The reporters perked up. This was even better than what Darnell was giving them. Nina, please, Darnell said through his fake smile. Let's not air our private business in public. Why not? You were happy to air it a minute ago. You were happy to tell everyone how betrayed you feel. Well, let me tell you about betrayal. I turned to face the cameras directly. This man promised to love me forever. He promised to respect me and honor me. Instead, he humiliated me in front of his colleagues. He brought his girlfriend to our anniversary dinners. He told me I was worthless, that I was lucky to have him. Darnell's face turned red. That's not. You're exaggerating. Am I? Should I show them the texts? The bank statements for the jewelry you bought your girlfriend? The hotel receipts? The blood drained from his face. You have those? I have everything, Darnell. Everything. The reporters went wild. Questions flew from every direction. Cameras flashed like lightning. Darnell looked around desperately. He was trapped, and he knew it. I need to go, he mumbled. He pushed through the crowd and almost ran toward the exit. Tasha tried to follow him, but he shook her off. Not now, Tasha. Just not now. She stood there alone, abandoned in the middle of the crowd. For a brief second, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. The reporters tried to follow Darnell, but security held them back. When they realized he was gone, they turned back to me. Mrs. Williams, can we get a statement? What are your plans now? Will you be filing for divorce? I held up my hand for silence. Tonight was supposed to be a celebration of business and success, I said calmly. Instead, it became something else entirely, something I never planned. I took a deep breath. But life doesn't always go according to plan. Sometimes we have to face painful truths. Sometimes we have to let go of things we thought we couldn't live without. The reporters scribbled frantically. As for my marriage, I continued, that is a private matter that I will handle privately. For now, I ask for your respect and understanding. This has been a very long night. With that, I walked away. Security guards formed a protective circle around me as I headed for my car. Outside, the night air was cool and fresh. I breathed deeply, letting it fill my lungs. It was over. Well, not really over. The hardest parts were probably still ahead. Divorce, business decisions, public scrutiny. But the first step had been taken. The truth was finally out. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out and saw a text from an unknown number. Tonight was just the beginning. Enjoy your moment of victory. It won't last long. V. My heart stopped. Vanessa. It had to be Vanessa. What did she mean by just the beginning? What else was she planning? I looked around nervously, suddenly feeling like I was being watched. The parking lot seemed darker than before. The shadows seemed deeper. Another text came through. Check your grandmother's safe deposit box, the one she never told you about. You'll find some very interesting surprises. Sweet dreams, Nina. A safe deposit box? My grandmother had never mentioned any secret safe deposit box. What could possibly be inside? I stood there in the dark parking lot, my heart pounding, my mind racing. I thought the night couldn't get any more complicated. I was wrong. Because just then, a black car pulled up beside me. The window rolled down, and I found myself looking at a face I hadn't seen in 20 years. A face that shouldn't exist. A face that belonged to someone who was supposed to be dead. "Hello, Nina," said the woman in the car. "I think it's time we had a talk. About who you really are." I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. I could only stare at the face looking back at me from that black car. It was impossible. Completely impossible. The woman in the car looked exactly like my mother. The same high cheekbones. The same deep brown eyes. The same small scar above her left eyebrow from a childhood accident. But my mother died 20 years ago. I was 8 years old when they buried her. I threw flowers on her grave. I cried for months after she was gone. "I know this is a shock," the woman said gently, "but please, get in the car. We need to talk somewhere private." "No," I whispered, backing away. "This is a trick. You're not real. Someone is playing a cruel joke on me. Nina, I promise you, this is not a joke. I am very real, and I have so much to explain." My legs felt like jelly. The world was spinning around me. First Vanessa's accusations, then Darnell's betrayal, and now this. "I can't," I said, shaking my head. "I can't do this right now. Whoever you are, whatever game you're playing, I want no part of it." I turned to walk away, but her voice stopped me. "Your grandmother knew I was alive," she said quietly. "She kept my secret for 20 years. That's what Vanessa was really trying to expose tonight. Not your inheritance, my existence." I froze. Slowly, I turned back around. "What did you say?" "Get in the car, Nina. Please. Everything will make sense once I explain." Against every instinct screaming at me to run, I walked toward the car. My hand trembled as I reached for the door handle. I pulled it open and slid into the leather seat. The car smelled like jasmine, my mother's favorite flower. "Drive," the woman told her driver. The car pulled smoothly out of the parking lot. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. I studied her face in the dim light. She was older now, with gray streaks in her hair and lines around her eyes. But it was definitely her. Definitely my mother. "How?" I finally managed to ask. "How is this possible? I saw your funeral. I saw your body." "You saw what we wanted you to see," she replied sadly. "A closed casket, a grieving family, a tragic story of a car accident. But why? Why would you fake your own death? Why would you abandon me?" Tears formed in her eyes. "Oh, baby girl, I never wanted to leave you. You have to believe that. Every single day for 20 years, I wanted to come back to you. Then why didn't you?" She took a deep breath. "Because I was protecting you. Protecting you from people who wanted to hurt our family. People who would have killed us both if they found out I was alive." My mind was racing. This was too much information to process. Too many secrets coming out in one night. "I don't understand," I said. "What people? What are you talking about?" "Your grandmother's company wasn't always clean," my mother explained. In the early days, she had to make deals with some very dangerous men to get her business started. Men who helped her with money when no bank would give a black woman a loan. Men who expected favors in return. I thought about my grandmother, the kind, gentle woman who taught me to sew and bake cookies. Could she really have been involved with dangerous people? When your grandmother's company became successful, she tried to cut ties with these men. My mother continued. But they didn't want to let go. They wanted a piece of everything she had built. What does this have to do with you faking your death? I found out about them, she said. I discovered documents that proved what they had done, proof of their crimes. I was going to take it to the police. Her voice got quiet. But they found out before I could. They threatened to kill you and me if I said anything. Your grandmother was terrified. She came up with a plan to make them think I was dead. That way, they would stop looking for me. Stop threatening our family. So you just left? I asked, anger rising in my voice. You let me grow up thinking my mother was dead? Do you know how much that hurt me? I know, baby, I know. Tears streamed down her face. It was the hardest thing I ever did. Every birthday, every holiday, every important moment of your life, I wanted to be there. But I couldn't risk them finding out. I couldn't risk your safety. Then why are you here now? Why show yourself after all these years? Because those men are finally gone, she said. The last one died 6 months ago. There's no one left to threaten us. And when I heard about what was happening tonight, I knew I couldn't stay hidden anymore. I leaned back in my seat, trying to absorb everything. My mother was alive. My grandmother had kept this secret for decades, and somewhere out there, dangerous men had controlled our family's fate. Does Vanessa know about all this? I asked. Vanessa worked for your grandmother for 15 years. She learned many secrets during that time. When your grandmother died and the money went to you, Vanessa became bitter. She thought she deserved something for all her years of service. So she's been trying to expose our family's secrets for revenge? Partly revenge, partly money. There are people who would pay a lot to know the truth about Josephine Richardson's past. The car drove through the city streets. I watched the lights pass by the window, my mind still spinning. Where are we going? I asked. To a safe place where we can talk properly. There's so much more you need to know, Nina. So much your grandmother never told you. We drove for another 20 minutes before pulling up to a beautiful brownstone in an upscale neighborhood. The building was old but well-maintained, with flower boxes in every window. This is my home, my mother said. I've been living here for the past 5 years, ever since it became safe enough to return to the city. You've been living here for 5 years, I repeated in disbelief. That close to me? Your grandmother visited me every month until she passed. She kept me updated on your life. Every achievement, every struggle. I knew about it all. We got out of the car and walked up the steps. Inside, the brownstone was warm and cozy. Family photos lined the walls. Photos I had never seen before. Sit down, my mother said, gesturing to a comfortable couch. Can I get you some tea? No, I just want answers. She sat down across from me and folded her hands in her lap. Where should I begin? At the beginning. Tell me everything. And so she did. She told me about my grandmother's early struggles, how she tried for years to get a loan to start her clothing business, how every bank turned her away because she was a black woman with big dreams and no collateral. She told me about the men who offered to help. They seemed kind at first, generous. They gave my grandmother the money she needed to get started. But nothing in this world is free. As the business grew, so did their demands. They wanted percentages, they wanted favors, they wanted control. My grandmother fought back. She was smart and strong. She found ways to push them out of her company bit by bit. But they never fully let go. They always had something hanging over her head, my mother explained. Some secret, some threat. That's how they operated. What kind of threats? At first, It was just business threats. They would ruin her reputation, destroy her credit, things like that. But when she kept fighting back, the threats got more personal. My mother's voice trembled. They started watching our family, following me to work, driving slowly past my house, making sure we knew they could get to us anytime they wanted. "That's terrifying," I whispered. It was. Your grandmother tried to go to the police, but these men had connections everywhere. Cops, judges, politicians. There was no one we could trust. So when you found the evidence against them, they panicked. For the first time, someone had real proof of their crimes. They couldn't let that get out. They gave your grandmother a choice, my life or silence. And she chose to fake your death. She saved my life, Nina. Never doubt that. Your grandmother was the strongest woman I ever knew. She gave up everything to protect us. I sat quietly, letting all of this sink in. My whole life had been built on secrets and lies. Not cruel lies, but protective ones, lies told out of love. "What about my father?" I asked suddenly. "Did he know?" My mother's face changed. A shadow passed over her eyes. "Your father," she said slowly, "is a complicated subject." "What do you mean? He died in the same car accident as you, didn't he?" She shook her head slowly. "No, Nina. Your father didn't die in any accident." My heart stopped. "What? Then where is he?" "Your father is alive, but he's not the man you think he is." I felt like I was going to be sick. First my mother, now my father. How many more dead people were going to come back to life tonight? "I need you to explain right now," I demanded. "No more mysterious hints. Tell me the truth." "Your father," my mother said carefully, "was one of them." "One of who?" "One of the men who threatened your grandmother. One of the men who controlled her company." The room tilted sideways. I grabbed the arm of the couch to steady myself. "No, that's not possible. You married him. You loved him." "I did love him, or I thought I did. He was charming and handsome and seemed so perfect. I didn't know who he really was, until it was too late." "But grandmother, she let you marry one of those men?" "She didn't know at first. Your father hid it well. By the time she found out, we were already married. And I was already pregnant with you." I thought about all the stories I had been told about my father, how he swept my mother off her feet, how they were so in love, how he died tragically just weeks before I was born. All lies, every single word. When I found out the truth, I wanted to leave him. My mother continued, "But by then, I knew too much. I had seen documents I wasn't supposed to see, heard conversations I wasn't supposed to hear. So faking your death wasn't just about protecting us from the other men. It was about escaping my father too. Yes, your father was the most dangerous one of all. He would never have let me take you and leave. So we made him believe we were both dead. Both, but I obviously didn't die. Your grandmother had friends who helped us. After the fake funeral, she took you in and raised you herself. She told people your father's family had disappeared in grief. Nobody questioned it. And my father? Where has he been all these years?" My mother hesitated. "That's the part I'm most worried to tell you. Just say it. I can handle it. Your father never believed I was really dead. He spent years searching for me. And about a year ago, he found out the truth. Cold fear washed over me. He knows you're alive." "Yes, and he knows about you, Nina. He knows exactly who you are and what you've inherited." "Has he tried to contact you?" "Not directly, but he's been watching, waiting. Your grandmother's fortune is enormous. He wants a piece of it. And now that the other men are gone, he thinks there's nothing stopping him from claiming what he thinks is rightfully his." I stood up and paced the room. This was too much. Way too much for one night. "Is that what Vanessa is really about?" I asked. "Is she working with my father?" "I'm not sure, but I wouldn't be surprised. Vanessa is greedy and bitter. She would ally with anyone who could get her what she wants." So tonight wasn't just about embarrassing me at the gala. It was the beginning of something bigger. I believe so, yes. I thought about Vanessa's text messages, the threat about the safe deposit box, the warning that my moment of victory wouldn't last. There's a safe deposit box, I said suddenly. Vanessa mentioned it. She said grandmother had a secret one that I didn't know about. My mother's face went pale. She knows about the box? You know about it too? Of course I do. That box contains everything, Nina. All the evidence I gathered 20 years ago, all the proof of what those men did. Your grandmother kept it safe in case we ever needed it. Why didn't she tell me about it? Because she wanted to protect you. The less you knew, the safer you were. But now that Vanessa knows about the box, we need to get to it first, I finished. My mother nodded gravely. If that evidence falls into the wrong hands, it could destroy everything. There are still powerful people connected to those men. People who would do anything to keep those secrets buried. I checked my watch. It was almost midnight. Can we get to the bank now? The bank won't open until morning. But we need to be careful, Nina. If Vanessa is watching, she'll expect us to go for the box. Then we'll have to be smart about it. For the first time all night, my mother smiled. You really are your grandmother's granddaughter. She would be so proud of you. Those words broke something inside me. The tears I had been holding back all night finally spilled over. I cried for my grandmother, who kept so many painful secrets to protect her family. I cried for my mother, who gave up everything to keep me safe. And I cried for myself, for the little girl who grew up without a mother, never knowing she was alive. My mother crossed the room and wrapped her arms around me. She held me tight, the way she used to when I was a child and had a nightmare. I'm so sorry, baby, she whispered. I'm so sorry for everything you've been through. Why didn't grandmother tell me the truth before she died? Why did she let me live a lie? Because she loved you too much to burden you with these secrets. She wanted you to have a normal life, a happy life. Happy? I laughed bitterly. I married a man who treats me like dirt. That's not exactly the happy life she imagined. My mother pulled back and looked at me seriously. Tell me about this husband of yours. I saw what happened at the gala. He called you his maid? He's been calling me that for years, not always with those exact words, but the meaning was the same. He made me feel worthless, Mom. He made me feel like I was nothing. Oh, sweetheart. She cupped my face in her hands. You are not nothing. You are the heir to an empire. The granddaughter of one of the most remarkable women who ever lived. And more importantly, you are kind and strong and beautiful. Never let any man make you feel otherwise. I know that now. Tonight showed me exactly who Darnell really is. Good. Then tomorrow, you'll start the process of removing him from your life forever. We talked for another hour. She told me more stories about my grandmother's early days in business. She told me about the years she spent in hiding, moving from city to city, always looking over her shoulder. And she told me about the father I never knew, the man who was supposed to love and protect us but instead brought danger into our lives. His name was Franklin Cooper. He had been handsome and charismatic, the kind of man who could talk anyone into anything. He used those skills to work his way into my grandmother's inner circle and eventually into my mother's heart. I didn't know what he was until I was in too deep, my mother said sadly. By then, I had already given him access to everything, our home, our secrets, our trust. What did he do when you found out? He tried to manipulate me, told me I was overreacting, that his business with those men wasn't as bad as it seemed. He could be very convincing. But you didn't believe him? Not anymore. Once I saw those documents, I knew exactly who he was, and I knew I had to get away before he destroyed us all. Do you think he's the one who sent Vanessa after me? I think it's very possible. Franklin always plays the long game. He waits and watches until the perfect moment to strike. Vanessa showing up at your gala? That has his fingerprints all over it. I shuddered at the thought of this man, my own father, working against me from the shadows. I should go, I said finally. I need some time to process all of this. Where will you go? Not back to that husband, I hope. No. I have a place he doesn't know about. An apartment I bought last year when things started getting really bad between us. I keep some clothes and important documents there, just in case. Smart girl. Your grandmother taught you well. She walked me to the door. Before I left, she handed me a phone. This is a secure line. Only I have the number. If you need me, call any time, day or night. Thank you. I hesitated. I don't know what to call you anymore. Call me Mom. That's what I am, Nina. No matter how much time has passed, I'm still your mother. We hugged one more time. It felt strange and familiar all at once, like putting on clothes you haven't worn in years but still fit perfectly. I drove to my secret apartment in a daze. The streets were empty at this hour. The city was sleeping, while my mind raced with a million thoughts. When I finally unlocked my apartment door, I almost collapsed with exhaustion. I kicked off my shoes and fell onto the couch without even turning on the lights. My phone buzzed. A text from Darnell. Where are you? We need to talk. Please, Nina. I love you. I deleted it without responding. Another text came through. This one from Jerome Washington, the kind man from the Children's Foundation. I hope tonight ended better than it started. If you ever need someone to talk to, I'm here. No strings attached. I smiled despite my exhaustion. At least some people in this world were genuinely good. But the last text was the one that made my heart stop. It was from a number I didn't recognize, but somehow, I knew exactly who it was from. Hello, daughter. It's been a long time. I think we should meet. I'll be in touch soon. Your father. I stared at that message for what felt like hours. The man who had terrorized my family. The man who had forced my mother into hiding for 20 years. The man I had thought was dead. He knew who I was. He knew where I was. And he was coming for me. I thought about calling my mother on the secure phone. I thought about calling the police. I thought about running away and never looking back. But I didn't do any of those things. Instead, I sat in the darkness, clutching my phone, waiting for morning to come. Because I realized something important in that moment. I was done running. I was done hiding. I was done letting other people control my life. Tomorrow, I would go to that safe deposit box. I would find whatever secrets my grandmother had hidden there. And I would use them to protect myself and my mother from anyone who tried to hurt us, including my own father. I had just started to drift off to sleep when I heard a sound at my door. A soft scratching, like someone trying to pick the lock. My eyes flew open. My heart pounded in my chest. Someone was trying to break into my apartment. I grabbed my phone and silently crept toward the bedroom, where I kept a baseball bat for protection. The scratching continued. Then I heard a click as the lock gave way. The door swung open slowly. A figure stepped inside, shrouded in darkness. And then a voice I never expected to hear spoke my name. Nina? Are you here? It's me. We need to talk. It was Tasha. Darnell's mistress was standing in my secret apartment in the middle of the night. And from the terrified look on her face, she wasn't there to cause trouble. She was there because she was running from something. Or someone. Please, she whispered urgently. You have to help me. They're coming. They're coming for both of us.